Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com for another edition of Inside the Zone. Joining us as always, Tom Davis of the News Sentinel. And we've got plenty of huge games this week in Week 8 as the conference races continue to ratchet it up. And we're going to start in the SAC where we've got a traditional powerhouse matchup, Snyder against Dwenger this week. And Snyder's kind of slid under the radar after that loss to Lures, and Dwenger, everybody knows what they've got, and they're coming off a bye week. So what do you see in this game of two SAC powers?
Well, I think what Snyder's done over the last few weeks is really build confidence. Their confidence was way down after getting spanked by Bishop Lures early in the season, but they haven't lost other than that. They're 5-1. They've had a bye week to get healthy, and they're coming off a really big win last week. So Snyder is as healthy mentally and physically as you can be at this point in the season, and they've got some weapons. However, the problem is they're playing Bishop Dwenger, and that's going to present a lot of problems for them.
You know, for Bishop Dwenger, this will be, in most estimation, the best defense that they've faced this season. Snyder really kind of struggling the ball. I've seen them in person a few times. They've really struggled on offense to move the football consistently. But you take a look at the defensive numbers for Snyder. They gave up 34 against Lures, but only 39 points the rest of the entire season.
Well, that's true, but they haven't played the likes of Bishop Lures or Bishop Dwenger other than the one game against Lures. Here's the problem for Snyder. They've got questionable quarterback play this year. Everybody knows what Akeem Kelsaw can do with the receiver. John Nelson's run the ball well at times this year. They do have a solid defense, but they do not have the quarterback play that can move the ball against Bishop Dwenger's defense, which, you know, as phenomenal as Bishop Dwenger's offense is, their defense might even be better. I mean, it's staggering how good their defense is. So I really think that they'll struggle to move the ball offensively against Bishop Dwenger's defense because it's so incredibly good.
Yeah, Saints only giving up 5.5 points a game. Sure, they haven't played Snyder. Sure, they haven't played Lures. But the SAC is always a tough conference, especially to keep people under 10 points a ball game.
Oh, it's amazing. And I will say this. There's a glimmer of hope for Snyder in that against Wayne, Bishop Dwenger wasn't dominant in the first half. They picked it up obviously in the second half, easily won, but there were some holes. There were some turnovers, there were some bad plays, there were some penalties. So Bishop Dwenger is not perfect. So Snyder does have that going for them, that there is a chance they can get something done, but I really would be stunned if Bishop Dwenger doesn't win this game going away.
Yeah, you mentioned the word perfect, and that's exactly what we're going to have at Lures Field on Friday night. Brebeuf coming in, Lures coming in undefeated, so certainly kind of a clash of titans, although, you know, from our perspective, we haven't seen Brebeuf play, but the numbers say, hey, they're a fantastic football team.
Well, obviously, they're 7-0, and so you can't fault them for that. However, I will say this. They have not played the likes that Bishop Lures has played. A couple of Brebeuf's wins have come against 1A teams. They've gotten some 3A and 4A wins, but, you know, those two 1A teams really send a red flag to me. And obviously, Indianapolis football is every bit as good as Fort Wayne football, but I really think that Brebeuf will be stunned when they get up here, travel all the way up here, and then they face Lures, who has so many different weapons offensively that they can pound you with. James Kanapke had a really good game last week, and then they can run 3 or 4 guys at you from the running back position, and they can throw 3 or 4 different receivers. So I really think Brebeuf has not seen a talented team like Lures on the offensive side of the ball like they're going to see on Friday, and I look for Lures to win this game.
All right, and moving on to the NHC, they give us another thriller. Something about East Noble playing on a Friday night in a big game that always comes down to the wire. Of course, the Homestead game early in the season, it comes full circle up in Kendallville where they lost to Columbia City 56-55. Carroll at Columbia City is a big game in this conference this coming week. I would assume that you pick the Eagles to come out victorious at Doug Dinan's home field. Well,
certainly Columbia City will be favored, and they probably will win this game. However, don't count Carroll completely out. They had Homestead down 10-7 at halftime last week after returning the opening kickoff 95 yards to kind of seize the momentum a little bit. The thing about the NHC race that you can look for is Columbia City has the easiest path to remaining I don't want to say undefeated because they have one loss, winning their last 2 games. Columbia City has Carroll this week, and then they have Norwell next week. Whereas East Noble still has to play New Haven this week, and Homestead still has to play New Haven. So all the other teams really have difficult schedules the rest of the way. Columbia City has 2 very winnable games. And I look for them to explode offensively on Carroll, just like they have most of their opponents this year. Here's an incredible statistic, though, about East Noble and Columbia City. As good as they've been this year, neither team is ranked this week in the coaches' poll. That's just mind-boggling to me.
That is an amazing statistic. But those teams in the NHC keep knocking each other off, and you've got 4-4-1 teams. And as you mentioned, one of the most difficult routes goes to East Noble. They've got to go to New Haven this week. So one of those teams is going to knock each other off.
Right.
When you take a look at that game, what do you see? Because when East Noble has had to go up against elite offenses, they struggled. They gave up 46 to Homestead. They gave up 56 to Columbia City. Is that the biggest concern in this game? Because you know New Haven can run the football and be good offensively with Salerno at quarterback and Hurst at running back.
Well, I think the big key is New Haven's been so good defensively this year, and perhaps this is the best defense that East Noble's faced this year. So it'll be really interesting mentally. Can they bounce back from that heartbreaking loss last week to Columbia City, and can they move the ball against that New Haven defense, which has been very, very good this year? So that's really where I'm looking to see if East Noble's offense is as explosive against that defense as it has been against Homestead, who Homestead's coach wasn't thrilled with their defense that night, and Columbia City, who they just like to outscore you. So that's really what I'm looking for. I really think that New Haven, being on the home field, and East Noble coming off that heartbreaking loss, I think the Bulldogs could pull off the upset this week.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly on that one. I like East Noble. I like their team speed, and I also like the fact that New Haven, the numbers didn't look so good last week against Belmont, which it could be a red flag as the season, because the way they end the season schedule-wise is one of the tougher ones in the NHC.
Well, when I first saw the 27-20 score that New Haven had over Belmont, I was like, they should win by more than that. Belmont scored late, and so really it was a 27-13 game, and New Haven was running the ball to wind down the clock. Tavon Hurst only had 130 yards this week, so that was a pedestrian evening for him. But if they can run the ball and control the clock and keep East Noble's offense off the field, and with that good defense, I'm telling you, New Haven's got a legitimate chance.
Okay, we'll have to see on Friday. ACAC, the title can be clinched by Leo this week. They've got Garrett, regional rivalry game. Obviously, Garrett would like to knock them off, but you know, I just don't know. I don't know if the Railroaders have the firepower to do it this year, because Leo's already got a 2-game lead in that conference with 2 weeks to play.
Well, you may not know. I know Garrett doesn't have the firepower to knock off Leo on this one. But you know, in August we talked about, this will come down to Leo and Garrett to determine the ACAC championship, and certainly that's what it's going to do. If Leo wins, they win the ACAC championship. There is a very small chance that Garrett could somehow muster up the ability to knock off Leo. Leo is experienced. They're physically mature. They run the ball well. They can pass if need be. They're just a much better team. Garrett has been kind of schizophrenic this year. Some nights they've looked really good. Other nights they've looked really bad. It's very similar to the South Adams team, which knocked off Garrett in Garrett last week. So really, this is a gimme game if you're picking them. I think Leo wins this going away.
I think you're right about the ACAC. There's a lot of Jekyll and Hyde teams once you get past Leo that you throw it up every week. Right. You never know who's going to win. It's been an interesting year.
Great for the fans to watch.
It is, because you're in every game. A couple other big games this week. Busco at Fairfield. That's in the NECC. Busco looks to go undefeated and basically could run the table in that conference. And Whitco at Rochester. Both of those 5-0 in conference. So those are some other games to watch. And that one's in the TRC. But for this week, I'm Glenn Marini. He's Tom Davis. And we'll see you again in Week 9.